know your ass better call somebody.
used to talk about the days when right here in Myerstown, coming right through the main street of Myerstown was the Union Canal. And in my research on the 149th, that's the Pennsylvania 149th, there was a company here called C. And I was able to find out what their occupations were before they went to war. That's for many of these guys. 3 of them out of Myerstown, as they would say in the old days. And I have dug through. That might work to your advantage or not. But when I go into character and I become the boat captain, he's a little rogue. Okay, I want to get Roger aboard. I like you a lot, but I'm authentic. So what is in my mouth right now, you will have to say to me, I will never attempt to do that. Ready? Say yes. And for 6 point, I think it's 7.5 miles, they couldn't keep water in this canal, so guess what they had to do? They got 2-inch thick oak boards and planked the whole stinking 6.75 miles. And you're sitting here going, yeah, backhoe. A book written by a fellow college professor talks about the Irish on the canal. He said if you want to build a canal, you need 4 things. A pick, a shovel, a wheelbarrow, and an Irishman.
I ran into this gentleman, and he has John Bossler captain certificate. He's been nice enough to bring it here with us and share it. He and his family have been great. And what we'd like to do today is Hal is going to tell a little story about his experience with the Bossler family and how he got to meet Captain Bossler's son and how he came to acquire the sword. And then Rich is going to talk about the color episode at Gettysburg. So, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you. Well, it's so great to be here. My relationship with Dr. Harvey Bossler, and I must say, the name is still B-A-S-S. No, you are. B-A-S-S. But from day one, we got to Myerstown, and we lived in the Bossler Mansion, Bossler home. We Bossler, not Bassler. So, growing up, this is how I grew up with the Bassler, B-A-S-S. So, for me, it'll be Bossler. For you, it will be whatever makes you comfortable. I was born in Lebanon and raised by my grandparents, Carl and Margaret Baker, and they lived in Robinsonian. My grandfather was a railroad worker, and he decided to switch jobs, working out of Robinsonian, and there was a job open in Myerstown, and he bid on it and was accepted for it as a single maintainer. He didn't want to have to drive from Robinsonian to Myerstown, so the family started looking in Myerstown for a place to live. There was a home for sale. It was Captain Bossler's house. Well, really a mansion, big place, but we needed it for the family that we had to live in there. And so we decided to come to Myerstown. We decided, I was tagging along, and got here, and the home was the name of Dr. Harvey Bossler. Harvey Bossler was the son of Captain John Bossler. Captain John Bossler for us today, this is his sword, as Matt said. So I was introduced to Captain Bossler through Harvey Bossler, his son, and the sword. Having gotten to Myerstown, we started to settle in and found that Dr. Bossler, Dr. Harvey Bossler, had several collections of things that he had over the years, because he was quite a civic-minded individual. He was an educator. He did a lot of work with schools and universities and colleges. And so these collections that he had, we started to become familiar with. And the agreement on my grandparents renting Harvey's house was that Dr. Bossler would keep collections of his things in the house. Now, what was these collections? Well, he had a collection of shrunken heads. He lived for many years out of the country in South America. In fact, he was in the employ of the federal government. And when I first met him, he came back, just coming back from South America, helping to guide people in the growth of rubber trees for the assistance of the Second World War and our people who were in the war. So he had a collection of these shrunken heads. I'll never forget it. The first time I saw it, they were really shrunken. Not much bigger than my fist. Now, he had most of these things on the third floor of the house in two separate rooms. And in addition to the shrunken heads, he had collections of weapons from the natives of South America. Spears, bows, arrows, that kind of thing. Also, dozens and dozens of snakes in jars. These were mainly out of the jungle, but he preserved every one of them.
He does something that I've been looking for 25 years for another incident like this, and I have yet to find one. He takes the flags, moves them out to a point well off in the front of the regiment to essentially act as a decoy to draw artillery fire away from the main line. And I think this is probably a good point to explain the function of battle flags on a Civil War battlefield. They're not just symbolic. They provide a very important function as far as troop movements. If we think about, for example, the 149th Pennsylvania, 450 men against them. That line is going to be just under 100 yards wide from end to end. Now, how many folks here have been to a Civil War reenactment? I know everybody in war has been. And even if you go to a reenactment with a few hundred men or a few thousand men, you'll see how much smoke there is on the field, how much noise there is. Okay? Visualize being the colonel of a regiment. Colonel of the 149th is Walton Dwight. He's the commander. You're at the center of the line. Your line is 100 yards wide. With all that smoke and all that noise, the men on the ends have no idea what your orders are. But the flags are typically at the center of the line. If you want your regiment to move forward, what do? You order the flags to advance, and the line will move with them. If the flag stops, the regiment stops and holds their position. If you remember the regiment, you look over and the flag's going backwards, there's a reason. You should go with it, okay? So again, the key here is, if you're the enemy, especially enemy artillery, if you see flags, that means troops. So what's happening here is the flags are being sent away from the regiment to deceive the Confederate artillery. Now,
get a good shot of all that. That's neat. See? No, that's not. Oh, okay.
You hold it. You're his grandson. Let him shoot you with it.
It's pretty long. You can't get it all in one shot. This hangs on my gun rack at home, and it's hard to get on there.
Didn't know this was coming. good surprise, Matthew.
I did that too, but then I got too short to reach.
I had
then
to talk to his son
doing that shit.
about bringing it down. So,
I didn't know.
and actually, your son helped us find Peter's grave.
Yeah.
Out on Kutztown Road.
Yeah, well, when this thing first come up, I said to my son, we got to get in touch with these people, you know. I didn't even know you existed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it was really good.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Just exactly, this is a perfect example of why we're here.
Well, there was no way we were going to miss this, you know.
Well, we appreciate you bringing everything down.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You can come out to the
That's why I
cemetery.
told him.
Sing this song, and Cape Town racetrack 5 mile long. I went down south with a hat caved in, and I'm going back home with a pocket full of tin. One run all night, one run all day. I'll make my money on the Bucktails tonight. Somebody better on me. They fly down the track and they both cut across. So that blind horse sticking in the big mud hole. And you can't touch bottom with a 10-foot pole. One run all night, one run all day. I'll bet my money on the Bucktails tag. Somebody better on the bed.
Area sax to James Blaylock. You're free to go. If you do want to stay in the home here, let me know and I'll get it opened up for anybody that wants to stay. All right? Just let me Guide is right.
Our Father, Lord, and Savior, we come before you today with thanks for our blessing. This gathering, the Bucktail heritage and relationship. In particular, thank you for the association of the Bosler family and the leadership of Captain John and son Harvey. We look to your continuing guidance and the guidance of your life in all the Bucktail activities. We raise Captain John Bosler's sword as a commitment to these tenets. In your name we pray. Amen.
Men had been pulled together and they became a unified force when they went to the field of Gettysburg that first day. John Bosler and his men going out, and of course the command to put the colors where they were that day to create a Patrinkin front to let so the heat would be coming off of the rebel batteries that were firing into the Bucktails and really wreaking havoc. In the charges that ensued, Bosler becomes wounded in the hip and the leg. Thank God for Batdorf, who found him, grabbed him up, and put him near the barnyard where he laid him down. And also we know that he had witnessed Sergeant Bream running by with the colors, the last sight that he's seen from him. Did he engage in any kind of combat further? I come to find out that Captain Bassler surprised 2 burglars that were trying to break in somewhere. He got the drop on them and shot them both. And then knocked one out so good that he hauled him off and threw him in the jailhouse. So that resolve in his later life still stayed.
And my aunt happened to be the leader of that Girl Scout group. And they gave me the Girl Scout book. They got a little pack for doing a battle for the poor, but also they could earn kind of extra credits, so to speak, by doing some sort of civic project that involved the Civil War. So I told them, I said, well, I've got a project to do that. And then this guy needs to have a marker on his grave. So they jumped through a lot of hoops with the County of Lebanon. And how many people here live in the County of Lebanon? Okay, you know how frustrating the county government can be. And they were definitely frustrating here. They demanded proof that this guy was a Civil War veteran. And of course, we had to show them documentation and that sort of thing. But eventually, they did. The county did provide a marker here. So thankfully, the grave is marked today with a GAR marker, which is fitting. Now, give you an idea how important this was and what an honor this was for Henry Spade. There were only 3 men that spoke at the dedication of that statue. One of them was President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge. The second one was the governor of Pennsylvania, Edwin Fisher, and the third one was Henry Spade, representing all veterans of the Union Army. According to the newspaper accounts, when Spade began to give his speech, they said that his voice was very, very strong, and he could be heard clearly at the outer fringes of the crowd. As the address continued, however, his voice began to fade. And when he got to the point where he began to discuss the Battle of Gettysburg, he could not speak at all. And eventually one of the aides to President Coolidge went up onto the speaker's platform and helped him back to his seat. Spade sat down and immediately collapsed. And he was rushed to what is now Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington and died 2 hours later. Apparently suffered a fatal stroke in the midst of the speech that he was giving to the memory of his commander, George Meade. And I'll be honest with you, I can't think of a better way for a veteran of the Army of the Potomac and somebody who played a big role in Gettysburg, which we talked about yesterday, to cross over the river, so to speak, rather than in the middle of giving a speech in honor of his commander. So it's a real honor for me to be invited here today and to be able to speak about this man. Thank you very much.
in the year 1891, John Bassler was given a role to speak here on Decoration Day in May of 1891. His very words were found. I would like you to listen as I read what he wrote, because folks, his house is right over there. When the funeral happened to Sergeant Brim, he could hear the fife and drum music being played in his room where he's laid up nursing his own wounds. He addressed the crowd in this fashion. He was talking about thank you for gathering and honoring the men of his company that he so dutifully was humbly to be command of. Here's an excerpt from what he says. Death is seldom a welcome guest under any circumstances, but death away from home, death in solitary and alone, and death like that of this comrade, how impressively sad. Yet such the dangers faced by the Union soldiers, and such a sacrifice. You who did not participate in the war, can you fully appreciate the heritage of a prosperous and happy country, preserved to us by the service and the suffering of such as these? Imagine all the comrades that perished during our Civil War, to pass in review. Up in yonder pike, the host who died on the field of battle, the still greater number that expired in army hospitals, and the thousands who were starved in rebel prison pens. What an ever memorable scene. The pike filled from curb to curb with moving masses of boys in blue. Tramp, 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 from the early morn to the evening twilight. The rear of the column of the 110,000 who were killed or mortally wounded still miles and miles away. Ask these comrades as they moved steadily by, did they regret the sacrifice they made for our beloved land? And methinks there would be a mighty response whose echo would reverberate far and wide, and that response, no. At length, these victims of shot and shell and minie ball and bayonet thrust and saber strokes all have passed. But yet, there is another mighty host with measured tread, and another day and night, tramp, 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 another day and night, the column of 275,000 who breathed their last in army hospitals, the harvest of death through fevers and other diseases caused by exposure and privation. Ask these comrades, would they rather be remained at home and allow the country to be dismembered? And I imagine the answer would be a no that sounded like the rolls of thunder. At length, these two have passed, but the end is not yet. Here comes another 65,000 men that perished in the rebel prison pens, 4/5 literally starved to death. Oh, see, men reduced to skin and bones, with naught but rags to cover their nakedness. Comrades who passed through such a hell of suffering as words cannot describe. Ask these victims of satanic cruelty, do they regret the sacrifice they made for country and posterity? And I think there would be another mighty no that resound through the air like the roar of Niagara. Captain John H. Bassler, Decoration Day, 1891, 128 years ago, in this very cemetery.